This is Stronger Than My Father with Marcus Minis.
Welcome to another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. I am your host, Marcus Minis Sr. Many people question and ask, what is Stronger Than My Father podcast? This podcast is designed to bring more awareness to fatherhood, and hopefully through my guests, we can find solutions to one day curb this pandemic called the fatherless. I have to say a special thanks to Jim McCarthy and Jim McCarthy Voiceovers. If you're looking for voiceover work, please reach out to Jim McCarthy. I also have to thank Miss Renee Jones for her production setup and everything she did to get this podcast prepared, because it takes a lot of work to do. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy. Well, today is part 2 of my education podcast. School starts in 2 weeks, and I want to bring on guests who are educators in the Metro School Department to get their perspectives of what is going on in the schools and some of the issues that surround, reading literacy, and also what solutions can be made to help our parents prepare for school. So I have Miss Melanie McGee in. I thank you so much for coming in and joining me. We've been knowing each other for a while.
Yes.
Since you had your son in our after school program.
Yes.
Facebook brings up those memories, and
yes.
I see Ethan with the mohawk, and I said, whoa.
Yes.
That's the mohawk. So
yes.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So tell my audience a little bit about yourself. Okay. And so people know a little bit about you, and then we're going to dive into education.
All right. As you stated, my name is Melanie McGee. Mm-hmm. I am an educator in Metro Nashville Public Schools. This is year 23.
Wow.
I don't look it, but
23.
But I enjoy doing what I do. Mm-hmm. I enjoy the science of literacy. Okay. And one of my favorite things to teach is phonics, which is the foundation for literacy. I know we'll get into that. Mm-hmm. As you stated, I have a son. His name is Ethan. Mm-hmm. He's 12. He'll be 13 in. Wow. I know.
That time went by fast.
I know. He's been with you since what? First grade?
First grade.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Make me even older every time. Talk about it.
But no. Like I said, I'm an educator. I'm a mom. Mm-hmm. I started my own catering business.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yes. Which is, again, something that I enjoy doing. Before we start, though, can I tell you how proud I am of you?
Well, I appreciate that.
I need to throw that out before we get started in anything else. So
yeah, it's 10 years of doing this. I'm ready to retire. No more dealing with kids, But I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I really do. I appreciate that. So let's, as an educator, school starts back in 2 weeks.
Yes.
What would you tell parents now to prepare for now? Because we have a lot of things, I guess, against our kids. People keep saying kids are not smart enough because of the pandemic, which I still ain't figured that out yet.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about it.
Like how can you come back from a pandemic but I can understand some of it, but not all of it. Mm-hmm. The reading literacy law. Mm-hmm. I want to get your thoughts and opinion on that. Mm-hmm. And then also parents really participating in their kids' lives, coming to the PTA or PTO meetings and being there as an advocate, and then also your experience of dealing with kids who didn't have the father.
Gotcha.
So let's start first with reading literacy.
Okay.
We had the third grade law that said 30% of kids. Yeah. Is that right? Am I right? 30%?
I have my talking points.
Okay, good. I got some talking points.
With all my stats, because, people will fact check you.
Yeah, we're. Was it 30% they said kids did not pass the TCAP test? Is that right? Because I found that. Because I was wondering.
Let me back up.
Okay.
The literacy rates for Tennessee. Okay. 78% is the literacy rate. Okay. The illiteracy rate is 21%. Now that's overall for the state of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as Metro goes, because I did look that up as well, Metro had, I think it was like a 40-something% proficient or advanced rate on the 10 ready that they just took. And with that being said, when you hear 40%, you're like, that's so far away from 100%. Like, why is it such a low number and people are celebrating? But there are several factors that play into that. So because in those numbers you have your exceptional ed students, which are special ed students, you have your EL students as well. So all of those numbers play into the that 40%. Now the other thing is, with that 40%, it was celebrated because it did show growth from the year before. So that feeds into your whole COVID conversation, and I don't want to get too far ahead and run your interview for you.
You can run it. You can run it. You got the expertise. I don't.
But all of that plays into the residual effects of COVID. Because just being 100% honest with you, COVID devastated the educational system. I mean, devastated it, because the impact, it exasperated the discrepancies that were already there.
Got it.
Because on the parent side, you may not have seen it like I did as a teacher, but March, all of a sudden, the pandemic hits, the world stopped. Children were no longer in schools. Teachers were like, what do we do? We're sitting home, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Teachers were home, and for a lot of teachers, they were thinking about, what about my students? Because we just walked away from the school one day. The next day, they're like, we're not coming back because of COVID, and they kept pushing it back. And so at that point, you saw teachers begin to step up and say, I'm going to contact my parents. We're going to do Zoom classes. This is all before school districts said these are the requirements. So that was kind of the first effort teachers made to continue that education that went on. But excuse me, as far as discrepancies go, I don't know, and you may recall, because your child was in school at that time, MJ was, that then there became a scramble to get kids laptops. And that was because they realized, okay, we're not going back this school year. These kids have to learn. But I don't think in that they even realized how that 3 or 4 month period was going to impact the next school year. Because we just didn't know. We knew that the pandemic was going on. We knew that it was, hitting our country hard, but we just didn't know. But anyway, going back to discrepancies, what you saw was schools in the suburban areas or more affluent areas that had strong PTA, strong PTO, strong parental involvement, had the technology. So they could readily go pick up these laptops or whatever. But where the discrepancy really showed was the inner city.
Got it.
Because these schools did not have carts upon carts upon carts of laptops. You may, let me step back for a moment. 2 years prior to me moving to the school where I was during COVID, I was in the inner city school, and I had been in the inner city for 13 years. The last school I was at was a very small school. There were 2 teachers per grade level.
Got it.
We had 1 computer cart. On that computer cart of 30, ask me how many laptops worked for 2 classes.
I'd probably say half of them.
11. 11, and they were so old that some would connect to the internet, some would, and so some of them were basically bookends.
Wow.
So you had that challenge paired with already low achieving students. So again, Metro's scrambling, pulling laptops from other schools because there's such a discrepancy.
And they didn't have, so I guess when COVID hit, just we wasn't just ready. We wasn't prepared. We wasn't ready. So they didn't have the proper things to help kids continue to learn.
Exactly.
And I think, do you think a lot of parents got lazy and said don't worry about it or anything like that? Or you think there were parents really working hard to be sure their kids continue to learn through that pandemic?
It was a shock.
What's the shock?
Parents realize my baby can't read.
Wow.
My baby can't add. Like what is my child's been making straight A's at school. What's going on? Why don't they know how to do these things?
Were they just passing them?
I don't want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to, I know you're big on like parental involvement.
Mm-hmm.
It's a disconnect
between
like you in the classroom, you have teachers that are supporting your kid.
Got it.
And so if your child's struggling, you have that teacher that can walk over and say, hey, this is how you do it. The teachers have the know-how. So it hit parents, I really don't know what my kid is learning. I just get their report card and I see A's, B's, whatever. And I'm assuming that they're proficient in this stuff. Got it. But let me tell you this. My child, which has been a straight A student since he was in kindergarten. Okay. When COVID hit, he was in 4th grade. And so he was home with me. I'm doing my virtual teaching in one room. He's doing his virtual learning in another room. He comes to me and says, Mom, I need your help writing a paragraph. Let me back up one more time. This is a straight A student.
And can't write a paragraph?
Can't write a paragraph.
Darn.
Independently. Now, with me at that point, I was teaching 1st grade.
Okay.
He was in 4th grade, right? My 1st graders, because of the way I taught them, could construct a solid 5-sentence paragraph. Your introduction, your introduction topic sentence, your 3 points, and then your conclusion. They could do a solid one. Here, my child is a straight A student, couldn't do it. Not only a straight A student, he's in the Encore Gifted program. So
some ain't adding up.
The math ain't mathing. You know what I'm saying? So, for me as a mom, that kind of hit me in the face. So if you think about it, for me as a mom, as an educator, imagine non-educator parents having that reality and not having the tools to help their kid.
So what's the gap in the middle then? So either somebody wasn't teaching right, or kids wasn't paying attention, or parents didn't do enough involvement to be sure their kids were prepared. Something had to be a breakdown somewhere.
I would say all of those things.
Okay.
In his case, there were a lot of supports in place where if he got snagged up on something, there was a teacher there to say, okay, try it this way. Yeah. But with that being said, walking away from it, he did not know how to do it. Now, of course, their mom and me and educator, I'm like, no, hold on, doggone it. This don't make any sense. But I was able to pull that technique I taught my 1st graders and give it to him. But him being such the student that he is, he took it and he ran with it. Got it. Now, last year, when we had his IEP meeting, his ELA teacher said his writing is the strongest of any of my students. Like he says, I give him an assignment, he wants to write more. He wants to put in more details, this and that and the other. And when I told her about 4th grade, she was like, I never would have expected that.
I'm gonna throw you a curveball here then.
Okay.
You're an educator, you're gonna make sure your kid's good. Why don't you think some of these other parents are doing their jobs to be sure their kids? I would assume, and listen to me, I know I live under a rock growing up. All right, so this may trigger you. I would just think, and I know I'm wrong, we as black parents want our kids to succeed. I just, it's a part of me where I'm like, I want my kids to succeed and go farther than me. And so where's the gap in there where a parent, from your involvement for 23 years, are you not seeing moms come up? Because I know we have 1 out of 4 don't have a dad in home saying, I want my child to be good. I want my child to be smart and educated. Do you see a lot of it, or you see less of that?
What I see is parents that care. Okay. They love their children. They want the best for their children. The standards are so different the curriculum is so different than when you and I were in school. When we were in school, excuse me, we had you memorize your addition facts, subtraction facts. You had your little ice cream display. You learned your zeros. You add a scoop. You know what I'm saying? And we learned those things by rote. We did not learn process. We didn't know when we subtracted. You cross out the zero. You borrow all of that. Why? We didn't know.
I don't know you now. I was just told I had to carry the one.
Do you see my point?
That's what I trained them.
Exactly. So that's how we were taught.
Okay.
And that's how a lot of parents our age were taught.
Got it.
So now the curriculum teaches you need to understand the why. Which I had that in my talking points to talk about as well. But you have to understand the why you do something. So I'm borrowing this. I'm crossing out the zero in my ones, and I'm borrowing from my 10. Why? Because I don't have enough ones, so I need to take 10 and turn that 10 into 10 ones. And not only do the kids have to understand that, they have to be able to verbalize that.
Got it.
And so, with that being said, it's so different than the way we learned it. And so parents are like, you know what? I don't know this new math. You and I before talked about the science of reading. I don't care about the science of reading. I just want my baby to read. So the way things are done now is so far removed than the way we learned it 20 plus years ago.
Here's the thing I haven't figured out, Melanie, is that everybody keeps saying everything is new math, new reading, new this. When MJ brought his homework home, I just tried to figure it out, and I'll Google. I'm going to figure it out and try to teach him. But Jordan, I was having to train him because he was doing the carrying the one. He was getting frustrated, and I would tell him, look, you don't have nothing else here. You got to carry it. That's how I was taught. But I took that time with him to do his homework. And now when I hear, kids can't read, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it the kid can't read? Is it the teacher's fault? Is it the mama's fault? Whose fault is it when you can't say your child can't read a book? Whose fault is it?
It's a lot of blame to be passed around, to be honest with you.
I only see one thing. Is it the home?
Well, it starts at home. And years ago when I first started teaching, there was a kindergarten teacher who had a sign on her door. And it said, parents are your child's first teachers.
I agree with that.
Which means that before your child comes into the school building, there's a certain expectation of things that you have laid a foundation for. Now, once they walk into my classroom, tag teacher, you're it. And I'm expecting you to kind of pick up where I left off and carry my child, education wise through the end of the year. Then tag mama, you're it. Excuse me. But now that can't necessarily be an expectation. Unfortunately. Now, with all that being said, there are a lot of parents who are involved. A lot of them that are involved. But it's difficult for you to be involved if you don't know what to do.
Let me ask you this. So you've seen a lot of parents who the parents struggle with reading?
Oh, yeah.
And have any of them ever come to you and say, look, I can't read?
I know your question. Before you even ask it, yes. Matter of fact, last school year, I had a little girl who had convinced herself that she was not good in math.
Okay.
So she was defeated before she even started because of her mentality about math. So I call her mom, call her dad, and they say, well, mom says, I wasn't very good in math. And I guess me saying that in front of her, it has kind of rubbed off. And I'm like, yes. Yeah. Because now she's at a point, she doesn't really want to try because she already feels like I'm not good in math.
Because mom said it.
Exactly. Then you have those parents that, are like, I wasn't the strongest reader. And so I really don't know how to help my kid read because I wasn't the greatest reader. And it's the cure-all that a lot of schools have passed out is read 20 minutes a night.
Yeah, I was told that.
Yes.
Like 20 minutes a day.
Exactly. But if you're not it's several factors that play into that. As a parent, if you're not a good reader, then how can you truly help your child read? Okay. That's number one. Number two, again, going back to things that have changed, reading has changed tremendously since we learned to read. And so with that being said, like we used to have the question, who was the main character? Yeah. What is the setting? What was the problem? How was it solved? How did the story end? You have those questions possibly, but then what was the setting? How do you know? Why do you think the character reacted this way? Parents don't know to ask those questions because you're digging deeper. You have to go beyond the surface. That is a difference that a lot of parents don't realize or they don't know, which again goes back into what we're talking about, that third grade reading retention thing. You assume your kid can read because your scores, their grades, all of that stuff match up, but that doesn't correlate with the test that they're given.
Well, who need now, since we're out the pandemic, we have reading literacy has become a big thing now. That's huge now. And I always keep telling myself, we can't always rely on the teacher to educate our kids. And I could be wrong for that. I feel like, I need to do something myself to help, my kids the best way I can. And I actually, when MJ was at his school, I actually asked his teacher, could I sit in on when he was doing the evening tutoring, could I sit in so I could see how you teaching him? So I was teaching him a different way, and it was confusing him. So I'm mad when he didn't get a good grade. Like, what you do wrong? And either Toya or somebody told me that you're confusing him because you learned your way. And so now with this whole big thing of education and reading and everything, what can we do now? As if a parent's listening to this podcast, what can she do now for a child struggling with reading right now? Because the statistics also show that if a child can read by third grade, they're pretty much preparing the prison for him because they feel like he's going to go into crime. But what would you tell parents now that their child struggling with reading?
Okay, let me backtrack and correct your stats here. Let me pull up my thing right here.
I have a statistic that's wrong. Wow.
Yes, what? You do. Surprise, surprise.
All right. Educate me.
So there is a roundabout connection between third grade reading and prison. Okay. There is. Okay. But it's also more of a myth than anything. Okay. So students not reading at their grade level by the end of third grade are 4 times less likely to graduate high school.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
If you're in the inner city, low socioeconomic, you're 6 times less likely to graduate high school. So here's where that third grade prison pipeline connects. High school dropouts, because remember we just said, if you're in the inner city, you have 6 times more likely not to graduate. High school dropouts are 63 times more likely to be incarcerated than college graduates.
Does that stem from the father not being in the home?
You can't put it solely on that. Because you asked me. I'm gonna throw it out. Well, you asked me. You want me to lie? You want me to tell you the truth?
No, you tell the truth. Okay. That's what we hear.
So right. You can't necessarily always put it 100% on that. Okay. Okay. So now, do fathers have a presence? Is their presence needed? Yes. Yes, it is. But you also have to have a mother present.
I agree with that. I'm never negating the mother.
Hold on. Okay. Hear what I'm saying.
All right.
I'm not saying that when I say a mother present, what I'm saying is now you have a lot of absentee parents, period.
Okay. All right.
You have parents that are disconnected because they're doing them.
All right.
They're in school themselves. They are working all these jobs, all these hours to make ends meet. So does it make it more difficult when you have a single mother that's trying to do those things? Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Absolutely it does. So that's why I say it's more or less absentee parent period than just fathers. But to piggyback on that,
let me say this then.
Okay.
Before you piggyback on that, why I say the father is because I feel like when he's not there in the home, it puts more stress on the mom.
absolutely.
And then how can she help her son if she out here trying to make sure everything goes okay? That's what I said about the father. That's what I mean by, I ain't saying that he, being in the home, and that's important, but if the father's not that provider, because the wife was never, her job was never to do the man's job. It was to be to support the kids. And I'm just going by what my dad did.
I was going to say, you and your antiquated ideas.
All right, look.
No. But what you're saying is real.
Okay.
That's your experience. That is your experience.
But that's got to be because
that's not the norm.
Well, I already know that. I'm not that naive. I ain't gonna be on podcast knowing I'm that naive. I clearly know that. I just see when I see a problem when kids can't read, kids going through educationally. I'm like, if a good and I know this is not the norm, and that's why it irritates me doing podcasting sometimes because it's not the norm, and it should be that way. It's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be that way where 2-parent homes and you both supporting your kid and they have a chance to make it and living in this world when you don't see that and you continue to see the problem, it's going to continue to happen.
I agree.
And I told my mom, I said, why do they keep doing this work when it's going to keep happening? And she said, your job is to save one. That's what she told me. She said, calm the heck down and save one.
You can't eat the elephant, but one bite at a time.
I agree with that. So I think now when you tell me, it takes that, and I want to see kids make it. Kind of why I started after school, when parents wouldn't even look in their kids' folders.
Right.
And I'm like, your mom ain't looking in your folder all week? Right. Why not?
Because, it goes back to what I just said. Mama is doing mama. Now, that's not necessarily always a bad thing because mama is doing mama with the intention of bettering what they have going on at home.
I agree with that. It's just something when I was over there at school and I was helping the kids homework, and I asked his mom, why ain't you looking at his photo all week? And she went off on me. You know how tired I am working 2 jobs trying to make sure I got something. I ain't got time looking at his folder.
Now.
And she went off, and I'm just sitting there looking at her because I can't react.
Right. And it's unbelievable to you because in your mind, that's just logic. And in my mind, it is logic. Yeah. Your child goes to school 5 days a week. You can't tell me that you haven't thought one day out of those 5, I need to look to see if there's a communication from the school to me. Yeah. If they're graded papers so that I'm not disconnected to what my child is going on. Now, let me take that and circle back to what you were asking about back to school tips. Start your year off being organized.
I like that.
Establish routines for your child. Establish expectations for your child. If you start out like that, you are more likely to end the year or continuously looking in their folder, being in touch with what's going on. Okay. Along with that, create a space. Hold on, let me go back. When we talk about expectations, not just expectations that you have of them when they get home. Okay. When you go to school, I expect you to conduct yourself in this manner. I expect you to listen, be respectful. I expect you to be able to come home to me and articulate what you've learned today. Yeah. Or at least what you did at school today, because you coming home telling me nothing. Now I know that's a whole lie. You hadn't been at school for 7.5 hours in someone else's care and you've done nothing all day.
I agree with that.
So as a parent, that goes back to also setting the expectation of we're going to have open dialogue about what you did today. My child, Lord have mercy. Every day he gets in the car. Mom, how did your school, and this is him, not me initiating. This is him, but it goes back to a foundation that I laid.
Yeah.
Every day, Mom, how was your day today? Before I even say anything, I had a good day. What did you teach your students today?
Ethan asked you that?
Every day.
Wow.
Every day. Then I will say, well, we worked on the same thing we did yesterday. Oh, so y'all are still learning about fractions?
Ethan's vocabulary is big. So I told one time, I'll tell you this real quick before you finish that. One time we was on a mentor session, we were eating lunch. I said, dude, you gotta be quiet. Your vocabulary, I can't understand you. You're talking a language I don't know. And I'm gonna be looking at the dictionary trying to look up the words you're talking about. And I'm getting angry every second. I am. I said, what in the world are you learning at Meg's? That your vocabulary is that thick.
But see, that's just him.
And I had to adapt to him.
Yes.
To try to have an intelligent conversation with him. I said, Jesus Christ, your vocabulary is strong. And I know that. And I ain't the best reading. I can read. I ain't the best in the world, but I clearly know when someone has a strong vocabulary. So I'll let you finish, but I had to throw that. I said, what are you teaching him? And what is he learning at Meg's when he's talking about doctor stuff and medical stuff? And I'm sitting here looking at him in his face like, how in the world did you know that?
It goes back to an expectation that I have or have had for him. Going back to expectation, beginning of this past school year, he came to me, Mom, I'm going to make straight A's all school year. All right. If that's what you're going to do, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to run behind you. I'm not going to do a bunch of, did you do your homework? This and that and the other. You have said this is your goal. Will I support you? Absolutely. But because you have stated this is your goal, you have things in place, because Megs has put things in place for him to get that done. And when I tell you, I did not run behind him. I did not do any of that. And he achieved his goal because there was an expectation. There was a procedure laid out at the beginning. Now, I'm going to say this. My child is exceptional. I'm not bragging. That's just fact. Yeah. That's just fact. And so he is goal-oriented. Yeah. And that's something that it's just him. Has nothing to do with me. And I say that to say every child is not like that. And I get that. But as a parent, you should also always have an expectation for your kid. So that right there is one way to start out with your, starting out your school year. Another thing, being aware of what's going on at your child's school.
I like that.
Now, I'm going to tell you, Metro Nashville Public Schools, if they don't do anything else, they got call-outs.
Yeah, they'll call.
They will
call you at 5 in the morning when they go to school.
They sure will, but they call you to let you know when there are district events. Principals call you to do call-outs to let you know about school events. And they also, the call that they give comes into an email format.
Yeah, because I get the call first and then the email comes. Yeah,
and I like see that. A lot of times the email have like the attachments with the little flyer for Read Me Week and all of that stuff. But again, that goes back to something else on my back to school list.
I like that.
Make sure that your contact information is up to date.
I like that.
At the school. I cannot tell you, especially in the inner city when I work there. We go through 10 numbers on an emergency car. 5 of them are disconnected. The other 5, nobody's answering. And, it's like, we can't get in contact with you. We care. We want to show you care. We care. But we can't get in contact with you to get the help we need. The other thing along with that is connect with your child's teacher.
I like that.
I'm a teacher, I'm a real teacher. I shoot it from the hip. I don't sugarcoat. I don't care if I'm inner city, suburb, urban, county. I just tell it like it is. And what I found over time is parents respect me for that. Because I don't sugarcoat it. But that is because I develop a relationship with my parents.
That's good.
If the teacher doesn't seek it out, you as a parent need to seek out to develop that relationship.
Got it.
Because what that establishes is teacher and mama, teacher and daddy, we on the same page. So you can't get between us because
everybody on the same page.
Everybody's on the same page.
I like that.
But what the last part of that is, don't be in denial if the school tells you your child is up here hanging from the rafters. Not my baby. You a lie, and you in denial. Yes, your baby, and it's a possibility. But it also goes back to expectations. I expect when you're not in my care that you are conducting yourself in this way. So it's kind of like all these things work together. And like, so it's not just one piece that can work independently. But you know, I'm hoping that answers your question about checking the backpack.
I think, and we got to go to your entrepreneurship because our time is running short. Is that I just wanted you to come on to talk to that single mom who may or may not be listening or listen to our clips. Is why it's so important to go off to a good start with the school year, because you develop those habits. One thing I would see what you agree with is limiting electronics. What is your thoughts on limiting, before we go, and then we're gonna go into entrepreneurship, is limiting electronics for your kids? How much of that do you think a kid needs during the week? Toya was strict. I had to admit I wasn't that strict with electronics, so I had to admit that because I guess when Jordan got out of school, I was just like the last guest. I didn't feel like listening. He always wanted my phone. And I'm like, look, you ain't taking my phone because we got to sit here for 45 minutes and wait on MJ. So just here's your tablet, you know. And he got addicted to that. But I mean, what do you just think the time limit for electronics you think for kids, especially that middle school, that elementary middle school time?
I'm gonna tell you that's hard, and this is why.
Okay.
They use computers all day at school.
Okay. I thought they stopped that after the pandemic.
No.
Okay.
Like part of their intervention during their independent learning time, which is like remediation, is on the computer. iReady, Lexia.
Oh, okay.
They're doing that on the computer. Other things that they're doing during the day are on their computer. We're teaching, like I taught second grade. We did a wax museum where they each had to research a person. They had to write out, then they had to dress like the person. They did their own research on the computer. So, but that goes back to, we talked about literacy. Yeah. Parents don't realize this or don't understand this, that there's such thing as digital literacy as well.
Never heard of that. That's a new word for me.
So, you know, because these kids are living in a world of technology. Yeah. Now, to go back to your concern of overly using technology and things of that nature, do I feel there should be a limit for like how much your child is on their phone and this? Absolutely, I do. But I will say this also, and I keep going back to my son because outside of my students, that is the only other child that's relevant to me, because that's what I interacted, you know. But for him, he taught himself how to read. Wow. When he was 4, on my iPad, I had downloaded the education version of Hooked on Phonics. Let me back up. From the time he was about a year old, maybe a little bit before, I had apps on my phone that were alphabet. These are pictures of animals, very like different pictures of things. It showed the cartoon picture, the real picture. I had downloaded books that would read to you, where like he could just swipe and turn the page, like it would read to him some of his favorite books. Was it the monster at the end of this book, Sesame Street? That was his favorite because it was interactive. So technology can be used in
a good way. Yeah.
So it's not just here's your phone, here's your tablet. What are you doing on your phone, on your tablet? Mm-hmm. Is it something that's going to reinforce what you've done at school today?
Yeah.
And excuse me, parents can't say, "Oh, I don't know what to do." There are free apps all day, every day.
You're right.
In the App Store on Android as well as iPhones that you can download that give support for what your kid is learning.
ABC Mouse ain't even that expensive.
No, and that's the other thing. If you're paying money for these V-Bucks or whatever they call it, I don't know, and Xbox Live subscription and all of that, you know, why can't you pay $5-6 for an app?
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know, so it's kind of a touchy subject because these kids are being raised in a digital age. Yeah. Which is why you have 1-year-olds that are like, give me your phone, and they can hold it up.
They can do it all.
You know, they can do everything. I saw TikTok yesterday where the little girl was like, Siri, such and such, such and such. Like, she's a year old. She can barely construct a complete sentence, but she knew to say, Siri, open whatever.
That's a learned behavior.
Exactly.
So they're watching somebody at home do that.
They are, but what I'm saying is that's their reality. Unfortunately, that is their reality. Now,
that's why parents need to step up and take them darn phones from these kids.
Well, I mean, but if you're going to allow your child to use the phone freely, is that okay? Is there time for that? Yes. But there also needs to be some kind of structured something they're gonna do. You know, on especially at the younger ages, most definitely.
Let me piggyback. Let me give you this one, and hope you don't grab me and knock me out the way. You know that's what I do. How much do you monitor your son's phone?
Me?
Yeah.
My child.
Yeah. How much do you monitor?
My child is exceptional. Keep that in mind.
Clearly know that.
Yes. So he first off, he knows his mama's crazy. Let's just start right there. And he knows I flipped this whole table over. And I'm not ashamed to do it. So
ain't nothing wrong with that.
So, you know, he knows that, and his village knows that. So he's not going to do a bunch of crazy stuff on his phone because he don't want to hear my mouth, nor does he want the consequences. Yeah. So, you know, he's a different type of kid.
Yeah,
he does a lot of self-monitoring, again, because he don't want me to show up and show out. So I can
see that. I can clearly see that right now.
He knows that, like, when he was in 6th grade, I think it was, because they 6th grade, the teacher called me, and it's so funny, Migs, they just, Miss McGee, now I'm calling you. He's not in trouble. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He called you in trouble.
Call me, and he's like, well, he's standing right here. And I'm like, I said, Ethan, what did you do? Well, Miss McGee, hold on. You know, he was looking at math something or whatever on the internet or on YouTube when he was supposed to be researching such and such in school. We had that problem one time. Because by the time I got through,
well, here's why I said that question. I hope and tell me when your time you got to go is 1:04. So, and I hope you don't flip his table over because now you got me scared to ask certain questions because you know I got to pull you.
Come on.
Here's the thing why I say is kids 13, you know, you begin to end puberty, and then pornography is so clear on the phone, you know, and so. That, you know, my son does not have a phone. He has a tablet. Anything he watches on YouTube, I can go to the history and watch on my phone. And I pretty much trust him. But, you know, nowadays with young men who growing into that's a hard thing to try to, you know, try to catch. So, you know, I know Ethan wouldn't do that because I was scared. I'm already scared now to see if if you got his phone one day and just so happened there's something porn on there, how would you react? That's putting you on the spot before we go to catering. We're going to leave this and go to food and then wrap it up.
Just know this at all times.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, that's her head right there. That's her head right there. She going to explode.
Just know this at all times.
But it's the truth.
Get my debit card and bail me out.
You got it.
just know the money's there. And if I'm there on a Friday, beg them to let me out so I don't have to stay the weekend. That's all I'm asking. But no.
Yeah, you kill it with the intros.
But no, seriously,
because it happens.
It. But I'm a believer in conversations.
Okay.
Now I will have a conversation. Now, and I have learned that I can't just blow up then talk. I have to, because there is power in children being able to articulate how they feel and why they do the things they do.
Okay.
Saying I don't know, unacceptable. I messed up. I'll accept that. I knew I shouldn't have done it. I'll accept that. I don't know, no. But if that did occur, that'd be my first step. Let's talk about this. No, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna be mad, but
you only hear Jim hit the explosion.
I'm not saying I'm not gonna be mad, but I'm going to take a few deep breaths. Then okay, now let's talk about this. He's that kid though. If I say to him, I am very disappointed in your choices, that breaks him down. Like it makes him fall apart. Yeah. But again, that goes back to my expectations and all the other stuff I talked about. Now, when we were talking about, looking at porn and all that stuff, his younger cousin, my nephew, Ethan is about to be 13. So my nephew is 11. Last year, he was 10. In the neighborhood with some of the other little boys. One of them had a phone, looking at it, showed him how to access it. He goes home on his phone. He's accessing it. His mother finds out, calls my brother, his father. Needless to say, that didn't go well. No. Once he arrives, because he's like, you are way too young for that. But, I did fuss at my brother because I'm like, did you even talk to him about it? Yeah. I just told him he knew better. I said, no, you need to have that conversation because here we go. As a father, it comes better from you. Now, his mama can say that's disrespectful, whatever, however she feels. But as a father, you need to tell him, I'm not raising you like that. That's not acceptable. If you're under the age of 18, I don't know. You can't do that. If you become older and that's what you choose to do, I have no say so over that. But as long as
you're under my roof
and I'm paying your phone bill and all this stuff, these are things that I expect you to do. Yeah. So, it does happen. Yeah. Kids do look at things that are inappropriate. As a parent, do I feel like you should check your child's phone? Yes. Be ready to be surprised just in case something comes up that you're not ready for. But again, that goes back to having open dialogue.
Yeah, with your kid.
So that if you do find something like, okay, hold on, where's this coming from? Because, as much as we want to shelter our kids.
Yeah, I do want to shelter mine. Yeah.
And as much as we want to be helicopter parents.
Yeah, that's a new word today.
Yeah, but your children now are innovative. I'm gonna say it that way instead of saying sneaky. They're innovative.
They sneaky too.
Yeah, they are. I'm trying to use a big word here now.
Well, we can bleep it on here. So that's what's different about this podcast. Real bleep a word on here.
They're innovative. When I say that, they know technology. Yeah. And they know how to erase search histories and this and that and the other. So as a parent, you can't have fail safes in place, because once I found out Ethan was accessing YouTube at school and he was doing this, baby, he's 2 years ago and I just unblocked YouTube on his phone because number one, I forgot this. Let's just be honest. But then I realized, because after that we had a conversation, until you show me that you can be responsible with this, it's blocked. Yeah. Now he's shown me since then that he can use it in a healthy way. Yeah. He uses it to research stuff for school. He'll ask me a question. I'm like, you got a whole phone with Google. Look it up. Like you have that at your hand. So he has access to, to that. So my whole thing is, yes, you can check your child's phone. Yeah. But you also need to instill that there's a certain responsibility that comes along with having this.
Yeah, because like I said, we got to prepare MJ. Me and Toy, you got to have a conversation and say, hey, it's time to get him a cell phone. I'm still on the fence. Because MJ thought he was going to get one for Christmas, and he got mad because we didn't get one.
Okay, but look, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. I'm going to take it to COVID for just a moment. Okay. We talked about how COVID impacted these kids, right? Not just academically, but socially.
I was hoping you'd say that word.
And mental health. So this digital age they're living in, FaceTiming, texting, all of that, is how they can communicate with their peers outside of school. So you can't necessarily just say the phone is going to be used to play games and all of that stuff. It can be used as a connection to the people that he goes to school with outside of school.
What if I give him a flip phone that doesn't do all that? So that's what I'm really considering.
Listen, Marcus.
I do not want him to have this. This right here is still an issue. And one thing I really respect about Toya, she'll say it's your decision as the head of the house, but I always give her respect too, and we try to do it 50-50. It's just, I know it's so much stuff out there, and I'm trying to protect his mind, but
what you have to understand,
there ain't gonna be no apps on there. It won't be. I get it. It won't be no apps on there.
Listen, this is the thing. You have to understand that there are so many fail safes that you can set up on the phone. Because Ethan had a phone from the time he was in fifth grade, fifth grade, because he was riding the city bus from here to Meg's, and so anyway. But in that, I had it set up on his phone that he could use his phone between this hour and this hour. After that,
it shuts off.
You couldn't access certain things. That's nothing. That's not an app. That's built right into the iPhone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. See,
we gotta get you a cooking real quick. We gotta go. I don't want to pay the bill because the bill gonna be too high. That's number one. No excuse. I'm gonna give him a flip phone like my daddy.
Listen to me. My nephew has an iPhone, but it's a prepaid phone.
Yeah, somebody told me that yesterday. Prepaid.
That's what you do. But by the same token, this is what I need you to understand.
Okay.
Your son is not going to be under your umbrella forever.
Is this therapy number 5 today? More therapy sessions.
He's going to high school next year.
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
Exactly. So for that reason, like, you don't want your kid, and let me preface that with this. I'm not telling you something I am telling you something someone told me, but I'm also telling you something I found out for myself. And I'm still, as a mother, working through. Because Ethan doesn't do sports. And so if he doesn't have that avenue for camaraderie with people, so I can have a choice of allowing him to be potentially growing up to be a 40-year-old playing video games in my basement by not engaging him, with other people, and letting him understand there's a world outside of me, outside of your bedroom with your video games. So you have to raise your child knowing that they're not going to live with you forever. That's a hard pill to swallow, because as a parent, you're like, that's my baby. I want to protect them. I want to make sure that no harm comes to them or whatever. But you can do that, but they also need to experience life. They need to understand, like, I can't live under my daddy's bubble for the rest of my life. Do you know how afraid I was when I first put my child on the city bus to go to school?
I knew you were nervous for that.
Oh,
I was nervous
for you. Like, he had to ride from Antioch to downtown, transfer to another bus, that bus takes him to school. And in my mind, it's not so much the riding of the bus and the transferring, it's the people. Who is he going to interact with? The day he came home and said to me in 5th grade, Mom, I was at the Central today, and it was a homeless man. He was drunk and he fell down off the escalator. And I'm like, what? You know,
I'm taking you to school tomorrow. I already know what I'm gonna say. You ride with me tomorrow.
So as a mom, I'm like, oh my God, my child saw he's drunk and he's whatever. But then I thought, that's real life.
Yeah, I think one thing I that's just a part of me that I think I'm gonna have to work through.
You are,
and I think that I have to, as a because my dad and them did the same thing. We didn't really see life till we got out of high school.
Same here.
They protected us and they sheltered us from that because they didn't want us to experience a lot of different things that we experienced once we got older.
But I'm telling you,
even now, I see things. I was telling the last guest, Instagram reels and Facebook reels really messed me up. Because when I was seeing people fighting at restaurants, I'm like, why the crap people fighting at a darn fast food place?
But see, that's not your reality.
And I'm like, why are people doing these crazy things when it affects so many things? So it's a part of me where that's why I don't look at it a whole lot. I try to just look at stuff where it helps keep my mind together, because some of this stuff I'd be like, look, this world's jacked up. I don't need to do this no more. It's just they messed up.
Listen, when Ethan came home in 5th grade and says, Mom, there's a student in my class that's trans.
Darn, I ain't even had that conversation yet.
And I'm like, what? Now, the inside, I'm like, what the bleep, the bleep, 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 but then I had to put on this cool, calm appearance to him. Then I call my best friend. I'm like, oh my God, my child came home today. I don't know what. Lord Jesus, like, what am I supposed to do? But again, I stepped back and I thought, this is his reality. Yeah. Now, did I know that I was going to have that conversation with him? Eventually. Yeah. I was not prepared to do it at 5th grade. Because it just did not occur to me at 5th grade he'd be going to school with students like that. And so I learned from him. I said, so talk to me about it. He explained, these are this person's pronouns, so on and so forth. But I'm saying all that to say, as a parent, you have to be prepared for God knows what. Yeah. And I do. I think I just never had to experience that as a dad yet. But I think now these next 4 years, I'm gonna try to get my mind together. I'm not taking that. I'm gonna have to get my mind ready. You got 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks. We got to go to your cooking. I'm about to ask you 2 questions I know make you do paper flip. Let's close out. You have a passion for cooking. I do, and you have a great cooking. I don't want to say ministry. That's church. Cooking organization. You can say it's a ministry. You can say it's a ministry. Okay. People tell me all the time, Mark, what you know the ministry? I'm like, I'm just trying to help a kid don't have a daddy. That's just it. That's your ministry. I don't even know. That is your ministry. With a daddy. That's it. That's your passion. But you have a business that you provide great cooking and catering. Tell our audience in about 5 minutes, because I know we want to spend more time with that. So we're going to come back and do that one again. And all we're going to talk about is your cooking. All right, all your cooking. Tell our audience a little bit about something to eat and show your food that I can eat when we get off this air. No, you got to sample on air. Look, you gonna get, if I give you my bad opinion, you ain't gonna get mad. I'm gonna bust you across your head. See there? That's already. Jim, you gonna eat something? All right, let's try it. So, tell us quick before we sample. What made you come to name something to eat? Everybody wants something to eat. I do too right now. Everybody, where you going to get something to eat? I'm gonna get a fish sandwich when I leave. Okay, everyone. Food is a language that speaks to everyone. Yeah. When some of the most social, best conversations we have is over food, over dinner, over lunch together. So everybody always wants something to eat at somewhere, some point in time.
I like that.
So with that being said, you know, my specialty is soul food. I cook a little bit of everything. But my specialty is soul food. And I started the business, talking about ministry. This is why I say it is a ministry. Because I've always loved to cook. Always. You know, a few years ago, you were talking, my favorite cake is red velvet.
Yeah, red velvet with pecans. That's my favorite.
I busted up here with a red velvet. So that's how we became friends, I think, at that point.
I waxed that cake, too. That cake was gone in 2 days. With some vanilla bean ice cream.
See, and then you told me you weren't going to share, and I had to fuss at you about that.
I ain't sharing that neither. You cook it again, I ain't going to share it.
Oh, my gosh. But anyway, so in 2012, I had craniotomy, brain surgery. I had a tumor removed. And at that point, I realized life is short.
Yeah.
On your wellest day, you're sick enough to die.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so with that being said, it was totally unexpected that like I even was going to have to go there. And that's a whole testimony. We have to share it another day. That's
our part 2.
Yeah.
We'll come back in about 2 months. You'll be sitting right back in and do it again.
So with that, you know, it really made some things shift in my life, made me look at things differently. And so in the span of after 2012 to about 2016, God made some moves in my life. And one of those moves was, you know, you have that voice. You need to make a move. I'm telling you what to do. You need to do it. You're not going to do it. All right. So in the midst of that, I wound up getting a divorce. And then a few years after that, we had COVID. And then right before COVID, I had found out that I was going to have another craniotomy. So in June of 2021, I wound up having another one. And so it was during that time that voice was like, if you don't move when I'm telling you to move, I'm telling you I'm going to bless you. You need to move right now because I'm telling you your blessing is waiting for you. I'm giving you this promise. And at that point, I'm like, okay, God, let me recuperate. Let me get myself together. And I promise you, that's what I'm going to do. And so anyway, March of 2022, I had kind of played around with, you know, I'm going to do this. I got my bartending license. I want to do this. I want to do that. And March of 2022, I signed up for Corner to Corner.
Yeah, yeah.
And I am forever indebted to them because they instilled in me the things I needed to make my business be successful. So again, and I just happened upon them. So all of these things kind of, I feel like God was all up in it. Had to be for it to fall the way it's falling. And they were the first supporters of my business. In the midst of doing the 9-week course, they're calling me, hey, we got this event. We need somebody to cater. And, you know, so my first like 5 or 6 events were with them. They put me in rooms so that my business could grow. So from doing those 5 or 6 with them, like in a couple of weeks, I'm doing, I did it last year too. I'm doing Church of the City in Franklin.
Yeah.
They're having this huge, like all the church members come out. Like it was amazing last year. And like that exposed my food to over 1,000 people.
Yep. And
from there, January of this year, a guy called me, hey, my son, 6-year-old, I remember the experience. He loved your red tacos. I got to get you some of them.
Yeah.
You ain't had those yet.
Red tacos.
That's going to change your life.
That sound real good right now. Should have brought those.
But he was like, my son had your red tacos last August. I need you to cater this for me. And you see what I'm saying? So that lets me know God is all up in it. And I just recently secured a contract with TSU with their band.
Wow.
To do part of their band camp.
Wow.
So that's 300 people. And that's like the largest event I've done, but that makes me happy because TSU is my alma mater.
Me too. And the last guest was down. Me and her almost went at blows about that. She went to Alabama A&M.
Oh no! I love me some TSU.
There you go.
But so at any rate, my business has been blessed, and I can talk about it all day. But I tell people, let the food speak for itself.
Oh, I've already had your cooking.
I know you have.
And your fruit tea.
I was going to say, I forgot.
You forgot the fruit tea.
No,
Jesus.
I meant to do it last night. This morning I woke up, I'm like, doggone it, Mark is going to ask for this crack tea.
Yep.
And I'm
going to ask for it. Especially out these podcasts. You need it after that.
But what I brought for you today, and I should have played it up real pretty, but I didn't.
That's okay.
I'm figuring you're going to eat it anyway.
Yep.
Is these are my soul rolls. They are egg rolls that have
pointing to the camera. Let them people see your egg rolls. Yeah, let them see it right here. About to wax this right here. Right quick. About to wax that real quick.
These are my soul rolls. They have
without the crack tea. Yeah, I should have had that.
Listen here. Don't listen. Beggars can't be choices.
Use it as a clip, Jim. Beggars can't be choices.
That's my grandmama's words. but inside it has fried chicken, sweet potatoes, macaroni and cheese, and turnip greens. So it's a meal in an egg roll.
All right.
Now on the side here we have. Now if y'all gonna take pictures, I need to arrange them so they look kind of pretty.
They look good.
But on the side here we have a mumbo sauce, which is kind of similar to a barbecue sauce, but it's like barbecue sauce on steroids. It's real good.
See, you know, me hooked on that.
Yeah.
Be at your house knocking on the door. Hey, give me a paper towel. I'm gonna finish this up before we wrap this up. Hey, while eating this, I had to personally thank you so much for coming on today's podcast. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
you. Therapy session number 5 today that I had to deal with. You're educators. I applaud you for what you do in the school system, and thank you for what you do. You thank me, but thank you for what you do, because it takes a special person to work in the school system.
Absolutely.
It takes that, because these kids nowadays, I know it's rough.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it because I'd probably go to jail.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to hurt somebody.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody going to get hurt. So, but as I eat this rug roll, thank you so much for joining me on Strong in My Father podcast. Please listen to this podcast and previous podcasts by visiting my website at strongerthanmyfather.org. Please, if you like what you hear today, please click the subscribe button and share what we're doing, that we can continue to spread the word on fatherhood. And also, if you like what you hear, leave a donation, because podcasts are not cheap. Gotta pay. So thank you so much. God bless you. I'm about to eat this on the air, and I'm out of here. God bless you. Goodbye.